Welcome viewers to Biafra Battle Cry TV. Biafra is our religion, and here in Biafra is where we worship. We are loyalists to the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. We start with...
Yeah. And guess what? As expected, the Buhari's regime felt like talking about Biafra this time is like somebody reviving back, like reopening an old wound. Remember the murderous generals and their soldiers that murdered or orchestrated the death of over 5 million people. They were never punished for, war against humanity, war crimes. They were never punished. They were rather rewarded. They became so rich that they controlled the levels of power in Nigeria for decades. And at the end of that supposed war, Gowon came out and said, no winner, no vanquish. And that was the reason why nobody was really punished. The killed or the dead during the war were never to be immortalized. Something that you say, okay, for the sake of the continuity or unity of this country, we must make sure that something like this never happen again. So Buhari, the democratic president of Nigeria, became so obsessed, and his government became so obsessed that suddenly it felt like the Biafran war is an unfinished war. That Buhari went on, he called the media chats, and he told the rest of the way, he told the whole world that the Igbos were just dots in a circle, that Nnamdi Kanu and what he is doing seems to have been a bad student of history. And if their parent didn't teach them what happened during Biafra, he would teach them a lesson. They are just dots in a circle. They can be wiped off. That's exactly his words. The president of Nigeria, describing, one of the 3 largest ethnic nationalities in Nigeria, an ethnic nationality of over 60 million people. He described them as a dot in a circle, president of Nigeria, on the national television. He didn't stop there. He went as far as going on Twitter to repeat that same statement he made in that media chat. He tweeted about it. People reported it, and he was suspended. No, the tweet was deleted. Buhari's ego, or those around him, their ego got so bruised that they had to shut down Twitter in the entire Nigeria, where young people have managed to sort of like carve a niche for themselves, right? In a contraption where opportunities have become so limited under these guys. He shut it down for over a year until the election was coming. Then he opened it up. Who forced Buhari to act and his people around him to continue to act like the normal terrorists that they are? Nnamdi Kanu. You may not understand some of the wars that these guys really waged against this IPOB of a movement. The few that came to light are the ones that a lot of us are wondering, how could they let that happen? You have no idea. They spent so much money, enough that they bribed American legislators to help them facilitate, as in lobby, to make sure that once Nigeria proscribed IPOB as a terrorist organization, America will do the same. And that will give them a bit of a wing to fly and commit the ethnic cleansing in the eastern part of Nigeria. They did try. It didn't work, but they still went ahead anyway. And that was why when they plotted the kidnapping of Nnamdi Kanu to Nigeria, it was just to make sure that at least there will be no counter force strong enough, okay, to possibly neutralize them and the plot they had. Immediately they kidnapped Nnamdi Kanu. Suddenly, unknown gunmen emerged in the eastern part of Nigeria. People were killed because of this personal vendetta that Buhari felt like the preaching of Nnamdi Kanu calling for a referendum, a peaceful referendum, okay, was a crime, and it's not a crime. So, Buhari kidnapped Nnamdi Kanu in December 2015. They spoke among themselves and they released him on bail. By 2017, when Mazi Nnamdi Kanu came out and said, you know something, guys, there is actually no more Buhari. It was Oyedepo that first muted it when he picked it up online, and he said it to his congregation, right? This was 8 years ago.
If Buhari double in Sudan and press him into service as Nigeria's president, what? The representative of the Jubril family, that is the supposed impostor, having discovered the gigantic swindle, suddenly showed up in Abuja the other day and demanded to be compensated with a power-sharing arrangement at the federal level in perpetuity, plus 50% of Nigeria's oil revenues for 10 years in the first instance. Now, that was on the back page of the Nations of Tuesday, 27th of November. That, and I quote, failing these, they would tell their story to the whole world. It further stated that the Nigerian authorities have entered into frantic negotiations with Jubri's family to head off what is sure to be the world's dirtiest and worst kept secret, he said. And he concluded by saying that Britain is mediating its end. So far, to my knowledge, no official statement has refuted this claim, which simply implies Nigeria may truly be up for sale. The question is, has Nigeria now suddenly become a population of fools? I believe it's time to come away from our slumber and salvage this nation from slavery. If this evil tide is not dealt with quickly and decisively, Nigeria may be about to be recolonized the second time, and this time by another African country. What a shame and what a misfortune that will be. God forbid. You know, when we pray, we must be sensitive to the ongoings. If this...
When you pray, you must be sensitive. It was that strong. Listen to this. Oh. The expose was that strong that Buhari and his gang had to change their strategy on dealing with Nnamdi Kanu. So those of you who have been following, the persecution of Nnamdi Kanu, there are some videos I'm going to share with you tonight as well. It was very direct. I mean, it was so strong that world leaders, they were kind of like struggling to touch Buhari and say if he's real. He said it himself. Buhari said it was so strong that everywhere he went that time, world leaders were trying to hold him and see if he's real or fake. But Nnamdi Kanu didn't make that up. If you go onto Twitter right now, you are still going to see this post up. It hasn't been, they haven't been deleted. And this man, Eric Joyce, is a British politician, a British MP, who tweeted this in 2017. So Nnamdi Kanu also, this was after they granted him their bail in 2017. he had this to say. 5 days after this video you're about to watch, 5 days after, was when the Operation Python Dance 2 took place in Igbo land. And tens, if not hundreds, of young people were slaughtered 5 days after this video as part of Buhari's legacy. Here, Mazi.
IPOB, one family. IPOB, one family. One family. IPOB. We are unstoppable. Unstoppable. Come on, deal with the night to us. They'll keep playing. This is when you are in the Yoruba. Now, when they are some on the film and London, when you go to the back, Son is published by the Roman, is that correct? Yes. Is that correct? Yes. They are doing more damaging work than I was happening. Through misinformation and lying. Anytime I decide not to speak and keep quiet, in deference, not to the laws of the zoo, but in deference to Justice Britain that gave me bail. They keep publishing lies about me, lies against me and IPOB, and that is why I will keep responding. They are the ones who are breaking the law, not me. You can see the lies they are publishing about me and IPOB. Me and Buhari, who should be afraid of each other? Me and the zoo police, who should be afraid of each other? The zoo police. Me and the zoo army, who should be afraid of each other? The zoo army. How dare somebody publish that I'm in hiding? Who is that idiot? Come on, I can go for Biafra. From some newspaper, an Igbo man's paper, writing nonsense. What is the headline? That Biafra leader on the run. That is Zulu journalism for you. That is why we have our own radio Biafra. That is why we have our own satellite television. That is why we have Biafra television. Because of lies and deception. I can stand and prove who I am, but Buhari cannot do the same thing. Because the man you're looking at on the television is not Buhari. His name is from Sudan. After extensive plastic surgery, they brought him back. Taught him Buhari's mannerisms. And he came and deceived all of you. You cannot deceive Nnamdi Kanu, you cannot deceive IPOB. It wasn't my wish to speak. But the more I keep quiet, the more they keep lying against me. That is why I was speaking. I must defend IPOB. I am under oath to defend IPOB, and I will do it.
That is why when he was offered a lot of things, when they couldn't kill him, and he rejected, so they set off for another second round of a manhunt. But before that, he had an interview, you remember, with Dele Momodu, right? Okay, I'm going to share that with you, okay? Describing what happened to Buhari in his own words.
Buhari is dead and buried in a shallow grave in Saudi Arabia. Aisha Buhari was there. She came back from what they called a lesser Hajj. She was wearing black. She was mourning. If you look at the pictures that were circulated at that point in time, you will see the smug, or should I say, the forlorn faces of northern governors. A minute silence was held at the AU for a late Buhari. Even Her Britannic Majesty Queen Elizabeth II also penned a condolence message to the people of Nigeria before the cabal took over and asked her to rescind it, which she did. Buhari is dead, and I'm prepared to stake Biafra on it. If you, Dele Momodu, can go and prove to me, I'm not asking you to do anything too complex.
Welcome viewers to Biafra Battle Cry TV. Biafra is our religion, and here in Biafra is where we worship. We are loyalists to the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. We should be careful and distant ourselves from Fulani double agent and commander-in-chief of gunmen in exile, behind the flag of our oppressor. Thanks for watching.